Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. So now, today we continue to the basic concept of research. We start by discussing about types of research because there are many types and we need to recognize each research. Okay, based on the sector or the persons who did the research, we can say that research can be done by academics, professional, or institutional. Research done by academics, it can be in the form of essay, thesis, and dissertations. So usually a persons who work in educational institution like university or high school, and when the lecturer need to do research, that's called academic research. Not only research done by the teacher, but also research done by the students. Like say for example, you in the next year you will do your you need to write your undergraduate thesis as part of the requirements to finish your study. So it's the examples of academic research. So academic research for the student, it can be for undergraduate thesis, for master thesis, and dissertations for the doctoral degree students. So that's the academic academic research done in academics field. Second one is research done by the professional or a person who has a job as a researcher. So what they do, always doing the research. Who do this? Say for example, a person work in LIPI, Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia. So what they do is your job is doing a research. So that's called professional research. Not only that, the institution or organizations, they also need to do a research. So that's called institutional research. What for? It's for development and decision making. Say for example that Unilever, say for example, they need to improve the quality of the products. They need to create a new variant of a product. So the research and development, the R&D, they need to continue to do a research and product development. So this is called institutionals. When they finish the product developments and then they can create, okay, that product needs the cost, say for example 10,000, and then the management can do a decision, can create a decision making whether this product can be produced or not. Okay, type of research can also be looked at from the place, whether this research done in the field, directly in the field, or the research can be done based on the library research. Field research means that the researchers need to go directly to the field to collect the data. Say, for example, that in a social field, researchers go directly to the society to do a research to capture the informations. What is the impact of COVID-19? They send the questionnaires to the respondent. They do interview to some of them. So that's called field research, when the researchers directly goes to the field to meet the respondent and informants. And then the second one is library research. This is when the researchers do not need to go directly to the field, but they just do it using the library research. I mean, they go to the exploring the web, exploring the information through the internet. They don't need to meet the informant or the respondent. So that's called the library research, when they just need to sit in front of their computer to search. Okay, that's the types of research based on sector. Okay, now let's continue. Research can only be divided based on the purpose, why the researchers do the research, and how they use the research. For the purpose, it can be for describing. So describing means that they need to capture, to understand a new phenomenon and describe it in the research. And the second one is to prove whether a theory is implemented or not in a particular objects. And then research can also for developing something, so like what I explained before, like developing a new products to create innovative product for the customers. So that's develop the examples of developing research. And then to discover is to find a new things. It can be for finding a new theory. The purpose can also to create a new formula, create a new this can be many things, creating something which is new and can be used for the further research. And then research can also be used, the uses of the research can be for understanding the problems. Okay, let's say for example that we know that we have a pandemic right now that's affect in global economy, social and economy, yeah, not just the economy but also social life. So to understand what is the problem actually with why this pandemic happened, that's the examples of uses a research to understand the problems. And once they understand the problems, we can find an alternative solutions to solve the problems. And we can also use the research to anticipate the problems. So, for example, by predicting uh, the growth of the economy in next 10 years, say for example, we can anticipate the problem. Say for example, this is due to the COVID-19, the pandemic. Economic researchers try to predict in 10 years how what will be the growth of the economics. So if there is something, if the research found that, let's say in 5 years there will be a decline in the growth of economy, or there will be an increase in inflation, so that use the research for anticipating the problems. And what for? So by anticipating the problems, some solutions can be prepared to solve that. And then research can also to make a progress. Okay, research can be done based on some methods. You can do research based on survey. By using this method, it means that you collect data from respondent or informant. So that's in the previous slide. This is called field research also, the survey. Survey means directly goes to the field to collect the primary data from respondent or informants. What is the difference between respondent and informants? We use respondent usually for written questionnaires for the persons who fill up the written questionnaires. But informant is someone that we do the interview with. Right. Second one is we can use ex post facto method, which is in this research we're looking for causes of behavior changes of phenomenon without manipulating the variable. So for you that you do the behavioral or humanity research, you can use this method. You just look at the why this happened, why this phenomenon happened, why now there are many small medium enterprises having decline in their sales. So that's ex post facto. The third one is experiment, doing the experiment. In this research, we found causal relationship between variables with certain treatments. So I would like to underline this term, treatment, because in the experiment research, the researchers put some treatment to the objects. So that's the treatment. And then the researchers can differentiate between the object without treatment and the object with treatment. The naturalistic is opposite of the experiment because the researchers doing the research in natural conditions without any treatment. So if you do a research on the small and medium enterprises and try to find what is the impact of the pandemic, say for example. So you do the naturalistic because you don't put any treatment. What is the example of naturalistic? Say, for example, that you do a research on two groups of small and medium enterprises. In the first group, you put a treatment, you are giving trainings, you are giving motivations, you are put some treatment. While in another group, you don't give any treatment. So that's the experiment using the have usually having two groups of respondents or two groups of objects. You put the treatment, so it's called the experiment research. But if you do not put any treatment, it is called naturalistic. Researchers can also do policy research. This is to analyze data to formulate policy and regulations. Say, for example, that you do a research to find what regulation is suitable to solve the problems of the small medium enterprises during this pandemic by using the research, and then you come up with what policy or regulations should be done by a particular entities, say for example Bank Indonesia, OJK. So that's policy research because the output of the research will be useful to formulate regulations. Action research is solving the problems by giving a real actions. Say for example the research to do two different classes. The first class is having the treatment, while other classes we don't put any treatment. So it's quite similar with experiment. Evaluations is just mostly on to look at the evaluations of uh, the impact of a particular regulations. I give you the examples of the paper or the article read by Winda on the impact of spin-off regulations to the banking. The research on history usually done by historian. They look at what was happened in the, say for example, 100 years ago. What did happen in during uh, the Dutch era, say for example. That's the history. We don't do this research, yeah, in this for undergraduate thesis. For research and development, like what I gave you the example, it done by a company when they need to create a new product. So they are doing research and development. All right, hope this is clear. We will continue to the next slide.